Welcome students for the fourth session of this module 5 of fiber optics and networks. So just to refresh, you might be having some confusion regarding the last session 3 where I have just covered there the concept of OTN, optical transport network, and internet protocol. Hope all of you well versed with IP, but there might be difficulties may exist in OTN. So all you need to do there is that is a very important thing we need to focus there in module 5, that is OTN concept. Is simply what you have to do at your level to understand that one. So simply you should be able to define OTN, draw the block diagram, and explain about that block diagram with respect to intramodal services and intermodal services. So intramodal services will exist on right and left sides, and what parts they can, and intermodal services will be there in the middle with OTN, and what the things are going to cover there. So those things we explain, then remaining things, some of their blocks how they can be utilized, that you can do it in your part of the answer. Okay, so so I hope that one is sufficient. Now today we'll see one more important concept which is based on the wavelength routing technology. So any optical layer which will exist above the physical layer, any optical layer which will exist above or with the physical layer is actually based on the wavelength dependent concepts. Based on the wavelength dependent concepts means the optical layer will allow the transmission of information between the different nodes of the network based on these wavelengths, maybe single hop or multiple hops. Single hop means it is directly transmitting from one to another node. Multiple means more than one hop, means it is going to pass through one or more than one intermediate nodes. That is the meaning. Okay. So for example, here you can see first sorry, yeah, if you look at this one, so three nodes are there here. There are three nodes, node 1, node 2, and node 3 are there. Okay, so there is a dedicated path is there for the wavelength lambda 1 from node 1 to node 2, and there is also another dedicated path is there from node 2 to node 3. Okay, so the thick line it will indicate dedicated path, okay, physical path, and dotted line it will indicate the light path. Light path means we are expecting some path to be connected there. For example, here so available wavelength we can say. Suppose if I want the lambda 1 to reach from node 1 to node 2, then node 2 to node 3. What if I want lambda 1 to reach from node 1 to node 2, we can easily reach, but node 2 to node 3 also I want lambda 1. In that case you can see there is no any existing part there. Okay, light path is not possible. Okay, so that it is known as wavelength continuity constraint. So this situation is known as the wavelength continuity constraint. So how to avoid that one? Simply by configuring the node 2, that is intermediate node, that is node 2, to as a switching node. Means simply we want it to convert lambda 1 to or to lambda 2 to lambda 1. Okay, so lambda 2 is now going here as input to node 2, and that we want node 2 to convert to compliant wavelength, that is lambda 1. So we'll configure the node 2, that is intermediate node, as a wavelength converter. Okay, so that's why you can see there are two stages are there for our lambda 1 to reach from node 1 to node 3. First, it will directly reach lambda 1 from node 1 to node 2 with available path. So, but whereas light path will be established by configuring the intermediate node 2 as a wavelength converter. That is the second stage. So means two hopes are there or two stages are there. so over this newly established path. So that's why it is known as wavelength convertible network with two hopes, because wavelength is converted here from lambda 2 to lambda 1, so it is known as a wavelength convertible network. Okay, so this is the first concept I want you to remember. You should know it. What do you mean by wavelength convertible networks, and what do you mean by single hop and multiple hop wavelength convertible networks? So next slide we can see, so what are different network structures are available or supporting for the implementation of wavelength convertible networks. Okay, so many network architectures are available. Uh, so here, for example, we are going to discuss with respect to uh, uh, with respect to three WDM networks here. So here you can see the first one here is a fully or dedicated wavelength converter is there. The means is that it means that, so here you can see two demultiplexers are there. Two demultiplexers are there on the left side of the optical switch. Okay, so this optical switch is, now you can see at the bottom side it has got locally added optical signal, locally dropped optical signal, means that, so this optical signal is acting like a OADM, optically add drop multiplexer. Okay, it is acting like a optical add drop multiplexer, or it may be ROADM also, reconfigurable OADM. Okay, so here let us see what is happening here on the left side. The left side of this one, single multiplexed wavelength signal is coming as input to demultiplexer. Then it will be distributed with distributed 4 dedicated wavelengths will be given as output of the demultiplexer as input to this optical switch. Similarly, from the second demultiplexer we are getting another 4 distributed dedicated wavelengths. So totally you can see in this figure lambda 1 to lambda 8 wavelengths are happening as input to optical switch. Okay, now at the output of this optical switch, suppose if you don't want to depend on OADM, okay, in that case what without depending on the OADM means without having the facility of adding or dropping specific wavelengths from the system, we have to depend on the WC blocks. WC blocks means wavelength converter. Here you can see each wavelength channel has got its own dedicated wavelength converter. Okay, so here lambda 1 is coming, and this dedicated wavelength converter is going to convert that lambda 1 to its complement wavelength lambda 2. Similarly, lambda 2 may be there, lambda 3, lambda 4, like that. They will be converted to their respective desired complement wavelengths, and then they will be assigned as input to the mux, and then again they will be sent as like that, multiplexed wavelength division multiplexed signals. Means here the idea is that we are using fully dedicated wavelength converters for each wavelength channel. But this one is going to be not practically economical, because we have to have wavelength converter for each of the channel. That is not actually required even, because all the channels are not going to happen to work at all the time. Okay, so it is something like we are dealing with what, optical communication here. So all the wavelength converters, all the wavelength channels are not required to operate at all the time. So all the wavelength converters are not required. So this is not going to be economical. So this is you can say to some extent replaceable to the concept of OADM here. Adding and dropping of the wavelength is not required, because we are using the dedicated wavelength channels, wavelength converters, sorry, for each of the optical channel here. But it is going to be not economical. So more economical means are like this in the second one. So here the concept will be remaining same. Again we have got here optical switches with the adding and dropping wavelengths, and here demultiplexers are there which are going to provide you the dedicated wavelengths as input to this optical switch. Now let us see what is happening here. What is the main difference between the first and this second figure? Okay, so here instead of using, here you can see there are no any dedicated wavelength channels. reach of the dedicated wavelength converters for each of the channel. Instead of that, now we are seeing wavelength converter banks. Now what we are seeing, wavelength converting banks. Each WCB will contain a group of wavelength converters. Okay. Now what is happening here is that now only those wavelength which needs compliant, which needs convertible to compliant wavelength. Okay, sorry. Only those wavelengths which requires to be converted to compliant wavelength. Though only those wavelengths have to send the request to WCB. So when WCB will get the link request, and WCB will get the particular link or channel request to be converted to its corresponding compliant wavelength, then wavelength converter will be assigned to that. Okay, so here such kind of things are known as sparse wavelength convertible networks, which are here the WCB is shared per link. It is shared per one link. Okay, in one link how many wavelengths we are getting, or those wavelengths are going to send link request. Based on the link request, WCB is going to assign the wavelength converters to get their particular wavelengths in the particular link to be converted to their compliant wavelengths. Hope you understood this one. So here what is happening, WCB is shared per link. So suppose if it is shared per node here, shared per link per node we are getting here. Per link request you are getting from lambda 2, it is converted to its compliant wavelength lambda 3, then it will be switched to the particular output, designated output, with the help of this optical switch 2. Optical switch 2 is there here, this block, all of you are observing here. So it is acting like a switch to provide dedicated routing path for this compliant wavelength, means converted wavelength from the WCB. Okay, that's what is known as WCB is going to give shared wavelength sharing per link. WCB will give sharing per link, whereas optical switch 2 will give the per node. This is per link and this is per node. So that's why this is a network architecture for the per link and per node. Okay, so this is a brief about wavelength convertible routing network architectures. Okay, so which are based on fully dedicated wavelength converters. Next we got the wavelength convertible banks, shared per link, then shared per node. These are the three different architectures we will see. So next we can see the concept of routing and wavelength assignment. So here the one problem is there in this one, the routing and wavelength assignment. So first we'll just refresh here what we have understood previously. It is already we covered. Let us assume we have the network of 5 nodes here. Okay, so there will be a network of 5 nodes. So lambda 1 wavelength is assigned to B. Okay, so lambda 1 wavelength is assigned to B. Now lambda 2 is assigned to B from C, and that it is requesting to B to route it to A via E. That is single hop transmission of wavelength lambda 2. Means it is a routing, sorry, there is a routing of lambda 2 from C to B via E reaching to A destination, and there is allocation of wavelength lambda 1 from A to B. So this is something like a routing and wavelength assignment. But there are many possible ways are there in which we can route the wavelengths or assign the wavelengths, which may be sequential or combination. In different ways, like different sequential ways or combinational ways, we can choose these routing or wavelength assignment of the wavelengths. Okay, so how to cope up with this problem? So let us see the implementation here. The RWA implementation may be static or dynamic. RWA implementation is either static or dynamic. So let us see what you mean by static RWA. In static routing and wavelength assignment algorithm, you can say, or a system, you can say, routing and wavelength assignment is totally static. Means the links are what you can say semi-permanently active. They are not permanently active. They are semi-permanently active. Listen here, students, carefully. In static RWA, the links which are later going to connect between the particular nodes in the network are semi-permanently active for longer duration, and moreover, the dynamically changing pattern of a traffic. Dynamically changing pattern of the traffic is already known in case of static RWA, and links are semi-permanently open for a longer duration. But in a dynamic RWA implementation, the links are not semi-permanently open. Based on the link request, okay, which is based on the dynamic pattern of traffic, we are getting the link request, and based on the link request, we'll look into the running the RWA algorithm. We'll look into running the RWA algorithm to see which shortest route is there available to provide the routing and wavelength assignment. That is what happening in the dynamic routing and wavelength assignment. For example, here this diagram is shown here, guys. A simple 5-node network. So here, suppose if I want to transmit the wavelength from 1 to 5. Okay. So directly we can get the one light path with a single hop with one intermediate node. That is single hop via node 2. Single hop means with one intermediate node, our wavelength will be transmitted from 1 to 5 with the intermediate node 2. That is single. That is virtual path has been shown here. So whereas the two hops we have 4 and 2. So we can transmit from 4. We will go from node 1 to 4 first, then 4 to 2, then we are going to reach the destination. Means two intermediate nodes it has to pass through, means two hops. Similarly, another path for the two hops is we have 2 and 3. You can go from 1 to 2. Okay, you can go from 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, then you are reaching here. Similarly, there is also a 3-hop network possible for the transmission of information from source to destination. Via 1 to 4 will go, 4 to 2, the next 2 to 3, then 5. Then RWA algorithm, by looking at all these possibilities, it will choose the single hop via node 2. It will choose the single hop via node 2. Let us assume this is how the dynamic RWA is going to work. Dynamic RWA, dynamic traffic pattern is not known in advance. Okay, it is a real-time based algorithm. So based on the dynamic pattern of real-time dynamic pattern of the traffic, the link request will be sent. Based on that link request, first shortest route will be found, then the things will be routed and wavelengths will be assigned. Okay, so suppose assume that if here the shortest path is found, but practically sometimes if you won't get shortest path, and if that shortest path is available but it is not free, in that case the link will be blocked. So RWA algorithm plays important role in deciding blocking probability of a network. It also decides what could be the probability of sending this information from node 1 to 5 without any blockage. Means it will also decide the blocking probability. Based on that, the things will be transmitted. Otherwise, some other measures will be taken, waiting on a particular time, or try after some time, something like that. Okay. So this how that is the main difference between the static and dynamic RWA implementation. So next, let us see another aspect of this RWA implementation, that is a wavelength assignment. That is the routing we have seen. Routing concept we have seen in the previous slide. Now we will discuss about wavelength assignment. See guys, the wavelength assignment is actually based on the topology, and is in is in the non-blocking places. Okay, the idea here is that RWA algorithm is first it will look into the topology which will be followed, and after deciding the topology, RWA step by step how it is going to work, just I am briefing here. First it will look into the topology, whether there is a ring or star or mesh topology is there. Then it will look into each of the segments of that topology, in which segment the no blocking key is there. In those blocks, in non-blocking stages, wavelengths will be assigned first. Okay, means wavelength assignment will be done in those segments of the topology or network where no blocking is there. Then later, coming to the blocking places, based on the blocking probability, the wavelength will be assigned. Then it will be routed as for the previous slide what we discussed. This is what the complete concept of RWA, routing a wavelength assignment. For example, for you guys to understand here, we will have the ring topology with the 4 nodes here. We have got the ring topology with the 4 nodes. Okay. So here, if you cut this D into 2 parts with the D transmitter and D receiver, okay, we have got totally 5 light paths with just 3 wavelengths here. Got here 5 light paths. You can see 1 light path, second light path, 3, 4, 5. With just 3 wavelengths sharing here. Let us see how light path 1 and 2 are nothing but are established by using the same wavelength, that is lambda 1. First from D transmitter to A, another one from C to D receiver. Similarly, the third light path is established from node 4 to 5, from A to C, going through the intermediate node B. Okay, sorry guys, just some. Okay, so the light path 3 is established from A to C, node A to C, with the intermediate node B. That's what is known as single hoop light path. Similarly, 2 light paths are established, 4 and 5, respectively from D transmitter to B and next B to C, D receiver, with A and C respectively as intermediate nodes, which are also have single hoop light paths. Okay, so here like that we got the 5 light paths with just 3 wavelengths. Okay, and graph coloring is used based on whether we have got single hoop or double hoop, something like that. Okay, so this is the concept of RWA.